I'm going to miss you. Careful.
The last time that Arya and Jon were together was right before each of them set off on separate journeys. Arya was going to King's Landing with her father and Sansa, and Jon was headed to the Wall with his uncle Benjen to join the Night's Watch. Arya and Jon were very close growing up. They would often finish each other's sentences and say the same thing at the same time. They are described as the only Stark children to share the Stark look: long face, brown hair, and gray eyes. Arya even feared that she was a bastard too, since she didn't look like her other brothers and sister. Jon was the one she went to with her fear, and he was the one who reassured her. Part of their closeness stems from the fact that they both understand what it feels like not to fit in. Arya because she's a tomboy and does not fit the idea of what is proper for a young highborn lady, and Jon because he believes that he is not a true-born Stark. Before they part ways, Jon gives Arya a sword that he had Mycon make especially for her.
First lesson. Sticking with the pointy end.
It was a gift that symbolized Jon's brotherly love, support, and encouragement for Arya to pursue her own goals and desires, but it ended up being so much more than that.
Sansa can keep her sewing needles. I've got a needle of my own.
It was her father's discovery of Needle that prompted him to hire Syrio Forel to train her, and Needle helped her to escape from the Red Keep after her father was arrested. When Polliver steals Needle, she feels ashamed that she wasn't able to stop him. But later in the series, Arya thinks that she is meant to have it when she spots Polliver at an inn and notices that he still has Needle. She believes that she was fated to find it again, and that the old gods want her to have it. Throughout Arya's journeys, Needle is her one possession that helps to keep her connected to her true identity, Arya of House Stark. When the Faceless Men required that Arya give up all her possessions in order to begin her training, Needle is the one thing she can't discard. She tells herself that it's just a sword, but it was more than that. Needle was Robb and Bran and Rickon, her mother and her father, even Sansa. Needle was Winterfell's grey walls and the laughter of its people. Needle was the summer snows, old Nan's stories, the heart tree with its red leaves and scary face, the warm earthy smell of the glass gardens, the sound of the north wind rattling the shutters of her room. Needle was Jon Snow's smile. The many-faced god can have the rest, she thought, but he can't have this. Additionally, Jon's first sword lesson, Stick Them with the Pointy End, appears several times throughout the series. But there are two recalls to Jon's Stick Them with the Pointy End lesson that stood out to me. The first is when Arya kills for the first time. She's terrified when a stable boy tries to capture her, and all she could think of is Jon's first lesson, Stick Them with the Pointy End. The second is when Jon is assassinated. One of his last thoughts as he's dying is his first sword lesson to Arya, Stick Them with the Pointy End. Arya and Jon think about and miss their other siblings, but they miss each other the most. Both of them often reminisce about how Jon would call Arya little sister and muss her hair, and they long for the chance to be able to do it again. There are several times that Arya expresses her desire to go to Jon at the Wall, and after she leaves the Hound to die from his wounds, she attempts to buy passage on a ship to go north.
I want to go north, to the Wall.
But when the captain tells her that the ship is returning home to Braavos, Arya decides to use the iron coin that Jaqen gave her to pay her passage to Braavos and begin her training with the Faceless Men.
If the day comes when you must find me again, just give that coin to any man from Braavos and say these words to him. Vala Morghulis.
Vala Morghulis.
Arya's experiences with the Faceless Men and Jon's with the Night's Watch often parallel each other. Arya and Jon join these organizations because they feel they have nowhere else to go. Both the Faceless Men and the Night's Watch are a brotherhood. Both organizations require a life of service from those who join them, and their members must serve without bias or personal gain. Members of the Faceless Men and the Night's Watch must renounce their former lives and family, as well as give up the opportunity for any future family of their own. Lastly, when Arya and Jon break the rules and oaths of their respective organizations, both are marked for death by members of their group. When Arya doesn't assassinate one of her targets because she doesn't believe that the person deserves it, a member of the Faceless Men is sent to kill her. And when Jon allies with the Wildlings and allows them south of the Wall, some of the members of the Night's Watch mutiny and murder him.
For the Watch.
But the show omitted another reason for the mutiny, In the books, Jon gets involved in northern affairs and sends Mance to Winterfell to rescue a girl he believes to be Arya from Ramsay Bolton, and later he decides to march south against the Boltons and asks for volunteers to join him. The attempt on Arya's life is not successful, and she decides to lead the Faceless Men to return to Westeros.
A girl is Arya Stark of Winterfell, and I'm going home.
And after Jon is brought back to life by Melisandre, he decides to leave the Night's Watch since his vows dissolved upon his death.
My watch is ended.
When Arya returns to Westeros, she avenges the murder of her family by the Freys during the Red Wedding, and begins her journey to King's Landing to kill Cersei. But when she learns that Jon has taken Winterfell from the Boltons, and is now king in the north, she decides to return to Winterfell instead. Arya still misses Jon, and has longed to be reunited with him throughout the series, so it's not surprising that she changes course and returns to Winterfell. Her desire to be reunited with Jon is stronger than her immediate desire to cross more names off her list.
I thought Arya was dead.
When he sees you, his heart will probably stop.
Different roads sometimes lead to the same castle.